NAGDA's new member orientation. My name is Matt Peterson, and I'm the Executive Director of NAGDA. I'm joined today by Carly Miller. She is NAGDA's Program Manager, who you will get to know very well during your time with us. This is our first new member orientation. It's something that we've been planning for quite a while, so we're really excited to be here with all of you today. We put this session together to provide an opportunity to learn about NAGDA, our member benefits, our volunteer opportunities, our upcoming activities, and much more. We'll also hear from two of our longtime members about their experiences with NAGDA and how they've benefited from membership. Before we begin, we do have a few housekeeping items. First, we're recording this presentation and it will be emailed to everybody who registered along with the slides and posted on the website soon after we finish. So if you see something or hear something that you want to go back to, you will have the slides, you will have the recording in case something goes by a little too quickly. Second, we set this up as a meeting, so you can turn on your video if you like. We encourage you to do so, but please stay muted for the duration of the presentation. Feel free to submit questions to the chat box as we go along. If we ask your question and there's something you want to follow up on, please feel free to chime in and ask, but it's easier to stay on mute for the most part. I'll answer those as they come up if they kind of fit. Otherwise, depending on the nature of the question, we may get to those at the end. And just a reminder, if you do put something in the chat, everyone can see it, so be careful. All right, so let's start with the basics and discuss a little bit about who NAGDA is. We were founded in 1980 by a group of plan sponsors who thought it would be beneficial to share information among different governmental DC plans. And we've worked to maintain that focus for the past 40+ years. We are a nonprofit, non-stock corporation, and we're a 501c6 as opposed to the 501c3 that you may be more familiar with. Being a C6 allows us to lobby, and we'll talk more about what that provides you as a member benefit shortly. Who are our members? Our members currently oversee plans that participate from 65 state governments, state and territorial governments, and 141 local government entities. That includes counties, cities, public safety, school districts, utilities, special districts, all kinds of public sector entities. Those plans range from multi-billion-dollar plans to a few million and everything in between. So we cover the gamut of public sector DC plans and all plan types. We have an interactive map on our website that shows all of our current members. If you want to go there, and you can check state by state and see who is a member of the organization. I also want to touch briefly on our mission and vision. I know that those are usually two words that cause everybody to nod off and start checking their email. But we left these statements in here because they do very succinctly explain who we are. So our mission is to be the primary source of thought leadership, interaction, and legislative advocacy in the public sector defined contribution industry. So those three things, thought leadership, interaction, and legislative advocacy, you'll hear us talk a lot about. Those are really the three areas that we focus on. Our vision is to develop a network of well-informed DC retirement plan sponsors and industry professionals working together to provide public sector workers with a secure financial future. So to put it another way, what we really want to do is to help you be better at what you do so you can help your people. So it's pretty simple. As I mentioned, we have three primary methods for doing that, and we captured those in our strategic goals. So very briefly, those are to streamline and modernize information for all of our members, to connect all of you throughout the year, and to advocate for the future of DC plans. So what does that mean as you're coming into the organization? When you see streamline and modernize, what we mean is making our information as easy to find and as accessible as possible. So we want to provide you with online resources and tools to help plan sponsors with day-to-day tasks. So to do that, we created a few things, like a resource library. Our resource library has all of the content that we've ever produced. So if you want to find a conference presentation, a webinar, a survey report, a publication, an award nomination form, all of that exists in our resource library. It has a search tool. You can look by topic, you can search by keyword. So we'll step through that later on in the presentation so you can get a little bit more familiar with that. But if you have a question about something in the industry, that's usually a really good place to start. We also have best practice guides to help you understand the basics of running a public sector plan. And we have our publications. Usually we publish something about once a quarter. So for example, next quarter, we'll be talking about ESG in the public sector and providing some tools to evaluate investment managers on their practices. We also created a new partnership this year that we're very excited about. We call it the Public Retirement Research Lab. That's a joint effort with the Employee Benefits Research Institute, or better known as EBRI for those of you who are familiar. The goal of that is to provide an unmatched data and research resource solely focused on public sector plans. So all we talk about in that is public sector plans. Many of our members have been frustrated by the lack of information focused on public plans historically. Almost all research is pointed at 401ks, and we're finally able to provide a solution through this partnership. There are two parts to the Pearl, as we call it. First is industry level research. So for the first time, we'll be analyzing how public employees are saving in their DC plan, both mandatory and voluntary, all types of plan types, any combination of DC plans you can come up with. Second, we provide those of you who participate with access to an online benchmarking tool that allows your plan to compare plan level data to your peers. So through that tool, you can create a custom peer group, any peer group you want. So it could be something like, hey, I want to see all voluntary 457 plans with 5 to 10,000 participants. You can compare your results across a whole range of things like account balances, contributions, asset allocations, all of those to the rest of the industry. Participating in the Pearl is free. It doesn't take any work from you other than signing up on a form. And we directly work with your record keeper to transfer all the data into our system. So we will provide you a link in the chat with more information on how to sign up. That just came up. If you have other questions and want to know more about the partnership, please feel free to reach out anytime, and we can answer anything that you have that comes up. Our next goal is to connect all of you all year. We were founded on the principle that plan sponsors are stronger and better with a network of peers to share ideas. And we offer events for you to do that every single month. So our virtual events throughout the year are called NAGDA Connect. So you'll see us use that branding. And when you do, you'll know that it's an opportunity to meet up with your peers. We have, through the Connect program, webinars that are focused on topics specific to public plans. Usually those will feature thought leaders from across the industry, but we put in a special emphasis on our government members. We also have small group discussions. Typically those are just your government peers. They're about 10 people or less. We try to stick to that to keep the conversation going. And we really use that time for you to talk about the things that are on your mind, what's going on in your plan, and can you get any help from other plans around the country. So be on the lookout for invites to those. Don't hesitate to get involved. It's a really great way to get to know people, and it's a really great way to solve some of the issues that you might not be able to solve just kind of in your own office. And Stacy, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question? No? Okay, you put it back down. All right. Our keystone event is our annual conference. The location for the annual conference changes every year. This year, we're planning to meet in Phoenix. Maybe we will have a decision next month on whether we'll actually be able to hold an event in person. But when we do meet, we typically have about 1,000 people over 3 days sharing ideas and laughs and occasionally a drink. And it's a really great time. Many of our members make their best connections there. Some become lasting friends. We really encourage you to get involved and attend if you can. It's not always available, or it's not always possible for everybody every year, but it's really something great if you can get there and meet people in person, as long as we can stick 1,000 people in a room, which I'll throw that caveat in there for right now. Hopefully that era is passing us by, but last year we weren't able to have the conference. And this year it's going to be tricky because we do have to make a decision by May 1st. Otherwise, we are locked into a hotel contract. So more to follow on that for sure. We will be giving you a lot of information on the conference in the coming weeks. Exclusively, I know we have a couple of service providers on the line. Exclusively for them, we have an annual industry roundtable. Normally that's held in May, but we're looking at moving that to December this year to see if we can have that in person as well. It's held in Washington, D.C., and it provides an opportunity for our industry partners to meet up without all the government folks in the room and to get an update from our team on Capitol Hill about what's going on in Washington. And finally, as I mentioned, we offer you the opportunity to connect through our online tools. We have member forums that work through your email or through the website if you have questions for your fellow members. For those of you who are part of that system now, you may have seen some questions moving through about 457 plans and salary information and percent deferrals. Almost every day we have something coming through. Don't be afraid to respond. If you feel like you have a good solution, those are all your peers reaching out for help, and it's a really great way to provide some much needed assistance to those who are facing similar problems to the ones you're seeing in your job. We also have a member directory that Carly will show you later on, so you can contact your peers directly. Any NAGDA member is in the directory, so if, for instance, you met somebody or saw them speak or can only remember their first name or where they're from, you can go in there and search by any of those factors and get in touch with any other plan who is a NAGDA member, and you can just email them directly and ask them for help or whatever else you have in mind. And finally, as I mentioned, I wanted to touch on our legislative advocacy. We work with the government affairs director in DC to advocate for public sector plans. We are going to be represented by a new firm in Washington starting next week. So you'll see more on that in the coming days. More to follow, but once they're in place, this is a very valuable resource to you if you have questions about regulations, interpretations of federal law, anything at the federal level. They should be able to help you out with. Just send us your questions and we'll do everything we can to get you an answer as a benefit of being a NAGDA member. Our executive board meets annually with key staffers to promote NAGDA's legislative priorities. You can find those priorities on the website. We also ask our members every year to provide thoughts on what we could add to the list. So if you run into an issue in your job that could be solved by addressing either a federal law or regulation, please let us know. All of our priorities that are up on the list right now came from our members. Somebody said, hey, if we made this change, it would be really helpful to me in my day-to-day. We run it through our legislative committee. We work with our government affairs director, and we vet those and make sure that they are changes that we can help to facilitate, and we put those on the list. So most of our priorities, for those of you who've been following Washington recently, were on last year's bill, the retirement bill that kind of known as Secure 2.0. We're hoping that that is reintroduced this year in a similar format so that we can get several of the issues that our members have been facing resolved in the coming year. So I could talk about the organization all day. There's plenty to cover, but I'm sure you're much more interested in hearing from people in roles like your own. So we have two really great ones with us today. First, we have Kim Shockley. Kim is the Director of Retirement Savings Plans at the state of Rhode Island. She's also a member of our legislative committee. We also have with us Mo Rayhan. Mo is the Assistant Vice President of HR for Retirement Services at New York City Health and Hospitals. He is also a member of the NAGDA Executive Board. So welcome to you both. We're happy to have you with us today. Before we get going, we're going to take down the slides. I encourage any of you to continue if you hear something you'd like to hear somebody expand on, please put something in the chat, ask your questions. We'll get to as many of those as we can. I would encourage you to do so. Mo and Kim are here as a resource to you today. It's a small group. There's plenty of time for discussion. So don't leave if you have any questions that you would like to have answered. So Kim, I want to start with you. If you would, can you just tell everybody a little background on your role, maybe some details about your plan, and then why you decided to join NAGDA?
Sure, and thank you, Matt and Carly, for inviting me to be here today. I'm the Director of Retirement Savings Plans for the state of Rhode Island. I work for the Office of the General Treasurer, and we are a hybrid benefit plan here. So within our office, we manage a pension and a 401A that's mandatory to all employees. And I work along with our Office of Employee Benefits to help manage the 457B plans for state employees only. So it's open to about 12,000 current members and about the same number of retirees. Because of the fact that I work on these plans, I one day had a question. Our office was talking about if we wanted to do some internal financial planning. So help members in our office instead of relying on our vendor. I reached out to a colleague and they had been part of NAGDA. And they said, why don't you give this person a call and see if they can help answer your question. And if they can't, they'll know who can. So it ended up that I did call this person. Keep in mind at the time, I was not a part of NAGDA. So the state of Rhode Island had no affiliation with the group. Not only was I helped, but I was passed along to other people to get other ideas and other ways that they had either moved along on that path of financial advising or maybe why they hadn't. So I ended up having probably 4 or 5 great conversations just based on that one referral to NAGDA. Because of it, I spoke to my CIO and just mentioned the idea of joining. And he'd heard of it as well. So I've been a part of NAGDA along with the state of Rhode Island since April of 2018. So I'm nearing my 3-year anniversary. That might answer the question in its entirety. And I don't want to move on too far and take up everybody's time, but that is my role here with the state and how I originally became affiliated with NAGDA.
Great. Yeah, I think that does answer it.
I was going to keep talking.
Yeah, no, it's good. Mo, what about you? Do you mind telling us a little bit about your role and why you joined up?
Yeah, so my role at New York City Health and Hospital, I manage the 403B plan we have for our New York City Health and Hospital healthcare employees. So we have 40,000 employees in our system, and our assets in the plan, we have roughly about $4 billion in assets. Now, I manage the whole plan from everything from looking into the investments, working with the record keepers, and also working with our employees. Now, NAGDA, the reason why I joined is manifold, as Kim mentioned. So we can keep going talking about it. What's the benefit of joining the NAGDA Association? I would say this is one and the only and largest associations that you will find where you can actually network with your peers. So anything that you would need to know, let's say, for example, you're trying to implement a process. So I'll just give you some examples. And these are the things why I actually joined and which actually helped me to get information. So at one time I was looking to see how can I develop some kind of communications where I can keep the assets in the plan, right? So as a plan sponsor, you look at all of those things that you want to see, what you can, how others are doing, and if there's something that you can take from there. So I reached out to some of the fellow members of NAGDA, find out, hey, did you do any kind of communications where you sent to your employees? That's something you can help me share and see how we can do it. So that was one of the things that I would say that helped me as well. And not to mention, you would also hear from your record keeper. They should be also encouraging you, providing information about joining NAGDA and what are the benefits. That's another area where I actually get some information from my record keeper. As soon as I was on board with this plan, it's like, hey, this is a great association where we recommend you join, where you can get so many informations from the other plan sponsors that are also a member of the NAGDA associations.
I think those are really good reasons to join, and hopefully similar to the reasons that all of you joined. Now, what I will say is that the two of you have gotten much more involved than just signing up. So Kim, you're a member of our legislative committee. It's a really great committee. They talk about some very important topics. What pushed you to get into to be involved, and what have you gotten out of it?
Yeah, so I believe it was at the last in-person conference, they put forward what positions were available. Um, and actually, I was interested in learning more about legislative priorities and what things are moving forward. And so I actually joined it, not because I think I am brilliant about legislative policy issues, but I do think I can be an asset, and I wanted to stay on top of that sort of thing. So it's really been interesting for me as a learning opportunity to be speaking with people from these different states and municipalities and the legislative leadership in NAGDA. And, you know, I'm able to take an active role as far as what we might be able to decide to push forward as an organization. So members of NAGDA actually are able to put forth what they think we should fight for in Washington, D.C. And it's really interesting because we get to see what different states and municipalities are kind of working through and working with, and then be able to discuss amongst ourselves originally what we think would be great to prioritize as an organization, and then push that, of course, forward to the NAGDA board. So it's really interesting to see possible legislative changes that can be made to retirement and how we can really help implement them.
And we really value the perspective of the plan sponsor. It's primary in everything that we do, but especially in the legislative advocacy. You know, we want to make sure that what we're advocating for at the federal level is driven purely by the government interest and purely by what all of you are trying to accomplish and get done. So Kim's been a really important part of that committee. She does add a ton, so as much as she might not say it, she has been a really valuable asset there. But it's, you know, it does take a little bit of a leap, right? You have to get involved and be willing to do it. And Mo, you've taken the biggest leap. You ran for the board a couple of years ago, and you were elected. What made you decide to do that, to go through that process?
Yeah, so I think this is something that everyone should take an interest, right? Not just by joining the association, it's also by getting involved. How you can enhance um, your activities, and your, maybe this is some kind of an opportunity for you to get more involved. This is a voluntary role, so that's something also should encourage you. Okay, maybe I'll take some part. So that's how I actually made myself more involved, saying that, okay, how can I increase my knowledge and build in more of my networking with other peers and get myself more exposed. So you can take little steps. There are many groups, as Matt and Kim are also involved, so you can try to volunteer yourself. There are many webinars where you can also say that I want to be part of the panelists, and give more to the community, more to your plan sponsors, let them know what you're doing. That would help others as well. So that's part of me, why I'm here, and why it really interested me to be on the board. Like, how can I get more involved, and how can I give more information out to our plan sponsors?
That's great. And so you've both been involved for a couple of years, you know, fairly new to the organization, but certainly deeply involved. Kim, do you have any tips as all of these people are coming in new for the ways to get the most out of membership?
For me, the different message boards that you can be part of here, you can make a choice that either you want to only put the question out to other plan sponsors or open it up. And I really enjoy, actually, I just got one today where I don't know the answer to this person's question, but I'm curious about the answer to this person's question. So I'm glad that it came to me. And, you know, it's not one of those things where you're going to get bombarded with emails about it, but you end up getting 3 or 4 responses from different locations. And so you get some information too from the questions that are put out there. So I've enjoyed that. It's also a great place to put things out there and really broaden your field if you have an RFP, or if you're even hiring and looking to go beyond your state borders to fill a position, or at least get a pool of candidates. So I found those things to be very helpful. Matt's right. The annual conference is informative, and it is really great to get to know people. In this year where we're all hiding in our houses, I'm glad that I'd already met some people that are on some of these committees or on different webinars that NAGDA has done. Sometimes you get some conversations going in the private chat. Sometimes it's a recollection, oh, we were going to talk about that. So while the meetings can be fun when you go to these conferences together, you also do make some actual relationships where you feel more comfortable calling someone up with a question, whether it's a plan sponsor or a program manager. I do feel it's a really engaging group to be part of. So those are different ways that I've utilized NAGDA myself. And I'm constantly seeing more.
Mo, anything you want to add on tips?
Yeah, so one of the other additional items that I do want to add that once you become a member, I know you have an option. So it's not just a one-person membership, right? So you have your team at your work that you can get them involved. So they're going to be also be benefiting from what was just mentioned about those newsletters, those questions that are coming in, and other plan sponsors or member would be able to see your member team's contact information. So if they need to reach out to them directly for certain questions, they can also reach out to them as well. So that's another key thing that I would mention for NAGDA members, that you can definitely take that opportunity to introduce your team member and be part of the NAGDA association.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And committee members, board members as well, getting them on the roster to get them access to the information doesn't cost you anything. It's really just a matter of adding them to the list. So really good points. So we haven't got any questions. I'll leave it open for a minute if anybody else has anything they want to ask these two as we wrap up. Are there any final thoughts from either of you? All right.
I would say feel free to join a committee if there's availability. Like I said, you don't have to be the resident expert on something to be part of the conversation. And I think it can only help the organization or state organization that you're with if you're a little more knowledgeable on something. So it's also a great way to make some contacts. And someone now wants to be on one, so fantastic. And Matt, you can answer that question on where they would go for a committee application.
Yeah, we are actually gonna touch on that in a second. The next thing we were going to talk about was our committees. So a good segue, much appreciated, Kim. So we do have a lot of ways to get involved. The committees are an excellent way to do that. So a good question here. And I'm going to pause for a second on, we had somebody who's a representative of participants and wanted to know how the organization can help them. So I think it's a good question. And Jerry, let me know if I answer this correctly. And maybe I would defer to Kim and Mo, and you can help me out. But if you're a representative of participants, really all of the stuff that we're talking about for the administrator is aimed at the participant. It's how are we helping the participant get to a better place and be ready and prepared for successful retirement. So, as a representative, understanding what the administrators are doing and understanding that perspective, I think, is really critical. But do either of you have anything you want to add to that?
I can add on to that. So actually, if you are coming from the participant's point of view, let's just take an example of the Secure Act. So if you're thinking of looking into that and say, hey, I need to know more about the distributions options based on the Secure Act. So you can hear those information from NAGDA and then go back to your plan and say, I heard about this information. Is this available for my plan? If so, what is it? If not, why? That way you can get more engaged and see how you can implement that provision, which will ultimately help all the other participants. So those are one of the things I would say that will really benefit from this organization as well.
Kim, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just to be specific to the committee I happen to be on, and Matt's right, everything we do is participant focused. So when new legislative ideas are brought to us, the question is, do we think this would benefit most participants? Is this a really unique subset of people that this would benefit and everybody else would kind of have a negative impact? So, one thing I enjoy doing is just being on the red team. So whether I agree with an idea or not, it's what are the implications of this idea? Is it able to be implemented in a way that members will be able to use? If we implemented this, would it help members to be more retirement ready? Or would it perhaps impact, for instance, right now there's an idea of, should there be sidecar legislation so that there can be a plan that people can access that they're saving for through the workplace, as well as a retirement plan. And so there's a lot of questions being asked. Is that actually positively impacting their retirement by making it so they're more able to financially afford their current lifestyles? Or as the sponsor of their retirement plan, is it our job to focus purely on that retirement readiness in the future? So that's just one question that's come up, but if you're part of the legislative committee, you get to voice not just your praise of something, but your concerns, and really make sure that your point of view is heard. So I find that very helpful.
Yeah, I think it's a great point from both of you, and hopefully that gives you an answer, Jerry. I think there's it looks like it does. We've had union reps and different organizations involved for a long time, and they add a really critical voice to our membership to help the administrator really bring it home. So we're glad you're here. Welcome. I do want to move on a little bit to what Kim and Mo mentioned, the great ways to get involved. And one of those is joining a committee. It does take zero expertise. It can, as Kim mentioned, it can be a really great way to grow professionally. We have committees around legislation, data, awards. We have all kinds of different ways for you to get involved. Carly's going to talk about those in a minute and help you figure out how to do it. Signups do come in June, so we will send out information for next year. So the committees are formed for this year, but we're looking into next year, and we'll have the information coming out in June for where to sign up. But that'll also be very prominent on the website in case you missed the email. We're also starting a new process this year where we're building task forces around different topics to create publications. So I mentioned before that we were doing a publication on ESG and public plans. That task force is meeting right now. They are currently working. It's a combination of private sector folks, consultants, asset managers, record keepers, and plan sponsors working together to try to figure out how to kind of work in the public sector frame and provide information on what's going on with ESG. A lot of that coming from the DOL regulations and opinions that have been coming out recently. So as non-ERISA plans, it's a little bit of a different flavor, and we want to help you to understand how that affects you in that context. And finally, we do have, as Mo mentioned, tons of speaking opportunities for plan sponsors. It's not everybody's favorite thing. Not everybody wants to speak publicly, but our annual conference call for speakers is open right now. Carly will show you where that is. You can go check out the topics and see if you would like to present on the national stage on anything that we're covering. Please don't be shy. This is a really, really wonderful way to show your expertise and your experience. Our members really love to hear from plan sponsors. No matter what, every single session we have, the feedback we get is, give us more plan sponsors. We want more plan sponsors speaking. We want to hear what other plans are up to. That includes you. You might not feel like you're the expert on things, but just hearing your story is always really interesting to your peers. So we encourage you to sign up for those. We also solicit speakers from our webinars or for our webinars throughout the year. So be on the lookout. And again, don't be shy. We would love to have you all involved. The final thing, as I mentioned, is just being very open to sharing your experience, whether those experiences were good or bad. Sometimes people benefit from the really tough times that you had as well. It's a community. There are a lot of different ways through the forum or through speaking opportunities. We also have our leadership awards that are open right now. So if you've done something, if you have a program that you're particularly proud of, now's the time to get some recognition for it. All of these things, like I said, they all live on our resource library. All of these things are available to you, and they're all built from your experiences and the experience of members like you providing that information to others. So any lesson is a good lesson, we think. So please feel free to share as much as you can. So I've talked a lot today about the tools and programs that we have available. I want to turn it over to Carly now. As I mentioned, Carly is NAGDA's program manager, to walk you through some of our tools so you can see where they are and what they are and get familiar with them. While she does that, please again, feel free to pop any questions you have in the chat. We'll get to any of those that we can at the end if we have time. So Carly, take it away.
Awesome, thanks Matt. So real quick before I jump over to the website to walk you all through some tools and resources, just a couple of quick notes on how you all can stay updated on NAGDA's activities and events. So as Matt mentioned, email communications. So we primarily communicate with our members via email, and we use the Constant Contact email service. So if you are not receiving communications from us, or if they are going to a junk or a spam folder, I suggest adding our Constant Contact email, which is there for you on the screen, to your safe senders list. Or you can always reach out to us and we can dig in on our end of things and make sure that we have the right email on file for you. We also post most everything that we send via email to the website under the news and announcements section. So if you ever feel like you've missed something or you just want to check in and see what we have going on, I suggest visiting that area on the website. And we have also just this morning launched a redesigned homepage. And so we now are featuring the 2 latest news items right there on the homepage for you. So you can, and we'll take a look at that in just a second, but from that homepage, you can just look at the top 2 latest items and see the latest news that we have there. So next, like I mentioned, I'm going to jump into a browser window and walk you all through some of the resources and tools that we have available, as well as show you where you can access your profiles and update your contact information. So I will switch over here real quick. All right. So here is the homepage, which, as I mentioned, we just launched a new layout this morning. So this is kind of a brand new look for us. And our real goal for this new layout was just to make the resources and tools easier for you all to find. So you can now see them just directly here on the homepage. We have them categorized as resources, tools, and then the different ways that you can get connected with your fellow members. And we have quick links to all of them here now. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to find some of those items instead of having to dig through the top menu structure. So we have them all featured on the homepage now for you. And as I mentioned, we also have the 2 latest news items that you can access from there. So like Matt mentioned, our call for speakers is open. So you could have just clicked right there and found information about that. So when you come to the website, the first thing that I recommend that you do each time is that you go ahead and actually log in. So that is going to ensure that you have access to all of the members only content, which is most of the items that I'll walk you through today. You will need to be logged in to access. And it just ensures a very streamlined navigation process for you. So to log in, you'll click in the upper right-hand corner on member login and click on the green button there and enter in your NAGDA username and email. So typically your username is going to be whatever email address we have on file for you. And if you ever need to retrieve a username or reset your password, you can use the links here. And you can, of course, always reach out to us and we're happy to reset things on the back end for you. So once you log in, you'll get redirected back to the member login page where there are a couple of quick links that you can jump to a few different areas. So you can jump directly into the member forum, you can jump to the member directory, or you can view your profile. So we are first going to take a look at the member profile. So inside your profile is where you can edit all of your contact information. So you'll see here, you just select edit. You can reset your username if you want to change that to something different than your email address. You can update your name, how we have you listed. Any of that information here, you can also select whether or not you want to be shown in the member directory. So that's where you can update all of your personal contact information. You also have the ability to, so if you hover over my profile at the top, there are a few other options that come up. So this is where you can go to change your profile picture. So you can upload your headshot there, you can change your password, or you can access any invoices that we have for you, which would probably be for like an event registration. So that's where you would go to access an invoice for that. You also have the ability to jump to your organization's profile. So for the individuals with your organization who are listed as the primary contact or the key contact, those individuals actually have the ability to edit the organization's information. So it kind of works the same way as an individual profile. You can come in here and edit the name of the organization. So how we have your org listed. You can change contact information. And it's also where you can share information about the different types of plans that you offer. So this information is super helpful for letting other members learn a little bit about your organization and the types of plans that you have. So we really encourage you all to submit this information if you haven't already. And you can come through here and fill out the information for the different types of plans that you have. You can leave the information blank for the types of plans that you don't offer. We have a number of different plan feature type questions down through here. So we really suggest that you submit that plan info if your organization hasn't already done that. Also in the organizational profile, your key contacts can change the profile picture so they can upload the plan's logo if they want to. They can also access invoices for the organization. So that is where your dues invoices would go to. So since on the government side, membership is held by the organization and not the individual members, you would need to go to the organization's profile to access your member dues, and you can download those invoices or pay them through here. And it's also probably most importantly where you can go to add and remove the individual profiles with your organization. So like Mo was talking about earlier, it's really beneficial to get your whole team in here, maybe add some board and committee members to your organization so they have access to all of NAGDA's benefits and resources. So they can come in and do that here. They can create new linked profiles, or if someone has left the organization, is no longer working there, you can also remove them. Again, we're always happy to add and remove people for you. So you can always reach out to us via email and just send us name and email addresses of those that you want to add or anyone that you would like to remove. So again, that's your profile along with the organization's profile, and you can just access that directly after you log in from the login page. So next, we will take a look at the member directory. So again, you can access it here from the member login page. You can access it now on the home page. It's also listed under resources over under Get Connected. So we will jump over to the member directory. And again, you'll want to be sure that you're logged in to be able to search in these member directories. So as long as you see that member logout button in the upper right-hand corner, you are good to go. And so our basic member directory, the one showing here, includes all members. So all government members, all industry members would return in the search results here. We also have 3 other versions of the member directories that are for specific types of members. So you can use the government member directory if you're just searching for contact information for government individuals. You can use the government member primary contacts directory if you are just looking for contact information for that individual who is noted as the primary contact for an organization, or you can use the industry member directory if you are just looking for industry members. So you can search using all of those by company or entity name, their city, or state. And our fourth directory type is the plan features directory. So this is where you can search by that plan information that I just showed you that's in the organization's profile. So for example, let's say you wanted to see all of the NAGDA members who offer a 401A plan. You can check 401A under the plan types and select search down at the very bottom. And that's going to give you the list of all of our members who have indicated to us that they offer a 401A plan. So you can scroll through here. You can click on any of these to actually go to the organization's profile to learn a little bit more about that 401A plan or the other types of plans that they offer. And you can also access that email address for their primary contact if you wanted to reach out to learn more about that plan. So a very helpful tool if you want to learn a little bit more about your fellow members, or if you're looking for someone specific to reach out to, it's a great resource to look into for that. So all of the member directories are super helpful for accessing contact information for a specific individual or maybe a couple of individuals, but you all might have questions that you would like to pose to the broader audience, so the full NAGDA community, and that is where the member forums come in. So to access those forums, you can do so again from the login page. You can do so from the home page now, and it is also listed under resources as well. So a few different ways that you can get to the different forums. So we have a couple of different forums set up. I think like Kim was talking about 4 different audiences. So we have our open forum, which is for all members, both government and industry. We have the government forum, which is just for plan sponsors, so just for government members only. We also have an industry forum, which you don't see here because this profile is set up as a government member, but that one is just for industry members. And then we have our RFP postings where you can post those RFPs or explore any past RFPs that have been posted. And we have our job board where you can post and explore open positions. The forum also has a search feature. So if you wanted to search by a keyword and see if there have been any past posts on a specific topic, you could use that search feature to do that there. So to make a new post, you can come in here and first select which forum you want to post it to. So if it's something that you only want other plan sponsors to see and respond to, then you would do that in the government forum. If it's something that you want it to be open to both government and industry, you can post it into the open forum. So we'll jump in the open forum here. And to make a new post, you can select new topic up in the right-hand corner here, or you can select the new topic button at the bottom. You'll enter in your subject line or your topic and then the content of your post and go ahead and submit that topic. We do have moderation turned on for these forums, so it might take a little bit between you submitting your post and it actually getting posted to the forum, but we try to do that as quickly as possible. So when you post to a forum, that, like we talked about, gets sent to all of the members who have access to that forum via email. So members can reply directly via email, and there are instructions for how to do that in those emails that you get with the post in them. Or you can navigate here to the website and find the post that you wanted to post a reply to, click on it, and add your reply directly there. So a couple of different options for how you can reply. And the forums are great. Like we were talking about, it's a great way to gather feedback from your peers or share ideas or best practices. Just a great way to kind of connect throughout the year when we're not all together at an annual conference or something like that. So we encourage you all to post and reply to different posts that are out there. So next, we're going to look at the resource library that Matt mentioned earlier. So if you're looking for information on a specific topic, or you just want to check out our past resources and most things that we've released, I suggest taking a look at the resource library. Again, you'll want to be sure you're logged in, and you can click on that Access Library button there. And so this library contains all of our past publications, conference presentations, webinars, survey reports. Pretty much everything that we release resides in this library. So it's a super, super helpful tool to look through and be able to find information. There are a couple of different ways that you can search and narrow down these options. So you can use the drop downs to narrow it by some predetermined topics that we have listed here. You can narrow the results by the resource type, or you can use the search bar over here to enter a keyword and search for resources that way. So if you wanted to see everything that we've released on the CARES Act, you could type in CARES Act there. That's going to give you results of any resource that has CARES Act either in the title or the description. And to actually download a resource, you just have to click on the title here, and it will open the full description of the piece so you can learn a little bit about it, and then you just have to select that download button there. So the resource library, again, super, super helpful. It's probably the first place I would check if I was looking for something. So I really suggest that you all kind of dig in and explore through all of these things. And if you're in here and you don't find something on the topic that you're looking into, please feel free to reach out to us. We're developing resources every year, so we would love to be able to develop whatever it is that would help you in your everyday job. So always feel free to reach out if we don't have something that you're looking for. So Matt mentioned the Pearl earlier, so I just quickly wanted to show you all where you can find the benchmarking tool. It is currently under construction, so it's getting that data populated. But once it is ready to go, you can access it under resources and under member tools. It's also on the homepage again. So just wanted to quickly show you all where to find that. And once we have it up and running with the new data, we will probably host a couple of demos to walk you all through how to use the tool, but just wanted to show you all where it was. So that is all I have for the website tutorial. So Matt, I will turn it back over to you for questions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Carly. And Carly's always the voice on the other end of the line when you call into NAGDCA. So if you have questions, Carly is a fantastic resource, and she does wonderful work. So it doesn't look like anybody has any questions right now. I do want to emphasize a couple of things that she said. One is the plan information for your kind of like the details for your plan. That's really, really helpful stuff if you're trying to say, find somebody who has automatic enrollment, or find a 403B plan, or find something really specific. But that resource kind of depends on you filling it out. So we really ask that you do that so that you can get in touch with your other members. The other one that I do want to point out is that it is really important you understand the difference between the open and the government forums. The open forum goes to all of our industry members as well. So that's all the private sector folks. That's a list of, I think, about 2,500 people or so. And the government forum is restricted purely to our government members. So just, some people will put something on the open forum, just kind of hoping to get information from the government folks, and sometimes they get an answer from a consultant or somebody that they weren't hoping to hear from. If that's your intent, that's great. But if you're just looking for government folks, just realize you can segregate that. Okay, well, it looks like we're pretty close to the end. I don't see any questions. Looks like we have a couple of COVID shots coming up today, and so some people had to jump off. We really appreciate you all being here. Extra credit to Rhonda for being the one who held out on the video for the longest. But if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out to me. I know you can reach out to Kim or to Mo. They'd be happy to help you out and get oriented. We're very happy to have you on board. Thank you for joining today, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.